So again, thinking about language, I was thinking about how it seems there's certain words that reinforce the me and reinforce the separative sense of self, like say the word should. Should creates the me, it's sort of a measurement against the structures of society. And it's better or worse, good, bad, time, trying to become something better. So there are these words that reinforce the me, which wouldn't be a part of the language of infinity and oneness and beauty and quantum. And again, saying I should have done something is saying that there is an active will, when really, if we're in relaxed perception, there's no will, there's just awareness and action based on awareness, which feels spontaneous and adequate. And somebody mentioned that there's this weightiness, and I was thinking that the weight is the movement of the non-movement of thought. So when we think, usually it makes us sort of second guess ourselves. We don't just act. And so when we second guess, or we're kind of thinking and deciding, it actually creates a contraction in our muscles and our nervous system. And I've talked about this before. And I feel in a way that's kind of how matter is created, because the thoughts create a neurological and chemical response in the body that sort of changes the whole structure of everything. And it makes us more dense, and it makes us heavier. So there's this non-movement that we're always adjusting to, instead of just being in this natural flux and flow of the universe, which people who've gone into map consciousness know all about. You don't have to explain or guess or wonder if it's there experientially. It's the difference between being a scientist studying quantum physics and having a brain that is operating based on quantum physics. So the weight is the non-movement of the muscles in the nervous system, because the thought structures of should, shouldn't, can, can't are warping it. So it weighs down the nervous system. And I wonder if there can be a lightness when the light of perception is allowed to run through the nervous system and just be the nutrition for it and be very fluid. And that's what happens in mania. So I already know it's possible. So the light is running through the system instead of sound. Sound comes out of the system, but it comes out based on the light of perception. There's no extra sound in the nervous system, and memory is a dirty nervous system. And what I've learned in terms of what I need when I go back is beauty, as in nature and other things, organic food and a healthy food store, money to just buy healthy food and not have to eat junk all the time. I want to be good to my body again. Silence, nobody clankering things or hearing TVs or traffic noise, but also a place to sing and play loud music, so not think, oh, I can't be noisy because this person will be bothered. So those are some of the things I think I need. And a question came up about, we aren't separate individual me's, so then what do we do? And I think the answer is that it's an action, it's not a concept, it's not a formula. When we really perceive oneness, we act as that. And so we're not acting according to programs, and we're acting as a mirror. So we can sense what's going on and act according to that. So what actions are universal? And can one exist in the universal? And so it's not a thought, but it's a perception. And I wonder, what would we be doing about things if we were thinking together and acting together? Not as separate individuals? And can we move on perception and not this illusion of choice, which is the programs? So does life make choices, or does it perceive and act? And we're all individuals choosing based on this thought sphere, when I feel like there's other spheres. There's a beauty sphere and a perception sphere. And even if we can't feel like we're one, we're all acting on the same Gaia. So we all have this same canvas. So anything we do on this canvas, directly or indirectly, affects somebody else. We're rearranging matter and consciousness. It seems like there's this butterfly sphere in terms of the butterfly effect, and we're not seeing it. And I feel like in so-called psychosis, we do connect with that because we see what thought does and what we've done and what we're doing as humanity, and we feel like, oh my God, look what I'm doing. There is this sense of complete oneness, but some of it can be scary too. But that's also part of learning, because by seeing that, one can see what not to do. One can see why, not just in terms of words and explanations, but actual in-touchness. And we're all borrowing from the thought sphere and the matter sphere. We're sort of like volunteers on Earth. But can we create? Can we create new sounds and insights? And somebody mentioned something about, if I lose my individuality, somebody else will come in and control me, so we're afraid to lose that. And I was thinking about how through map consciousness, we lose our individuality, we lose our boundaries, we're boundless, and then we're dancing and playing and living in that energy for a while. And then when we go through the so-called psychosis, instead of being received compassionately, we do have people coming in and controlling our lives. And in a lot of people's cases, their life might be controlled for the rest of their life. So what this person said was kind of true in a way, because the universe can come in and make us lose our individuality. And there's a real importance in journeying together and starting to say otherwise, because just one person seeing it isn't enough. And the mirror neurons are always calculating, even if we think we have this free will of thought. So every time we choose something and our body tenses up because it wasn't a living response to the moment, it was some kind of program that can never fully adequately respond to the moment, it's messing with our physiology in our body and contorting us ever so slightly. So with these programs, we think they're good and efficient and everything, but they're not, because they are damaging our system. So the nervous system and the body always knows. And in terms of this language of beauty, we always say I this and I that, and I'm wondering if there's a way to instead always have the I as a reference point, but to have this non-local reference point of beauty. So for example, when I was walking in that room and I saw that interesting bug, and I could say I saw a bug, but in a way the bug saw me, because perception picked it out. Like, I wasn't looking for the bug. So to start with the element of beauty first, like awe of a bug that perception selected for, not this I. Like, there's no I there. And the way we speak makes it seem like there is. But if we spoke based on what we're perceiving first, putting the perception or the beauty or the richness or the awe first, something about the space being filled with awe based on this perception, which is something that perception picked out. It's more like insect in awareness, or insect perception picked up, or insect perception picked out. insect perception picked out beauty. So it's about the insect that perception picked out, and there was this sense of beauty. But not really like, I saw this bug and it was interesting. Because when there's no center of I thinking, that's when perception, the field of perception, can pick out things for us. It's kind of like if we're on our phone and we go to a website, and then later we're on our phone again and there'll be an advertisement for something that was on the website we were on recently. Because the algorithm knows that you were on that, so maybe you're going to buy from there. So we're going to put that back on the screen, so you might buy it because you already showed that you wanted that. So in the same way, in reality, this whole screen of awareness that we have, this whole vast field of perception, by being relaxed and letting beauty select for itself, it just keeps selecting for that. But when we're thinking certain things, we're always selecting for things related to our thoughts. So then we think, well, think better thoughts. But those are still within the level of the programming, because we can only think something within the level of the programming. We're never going to be thinking, I want to see this really bizarre looking bug that I've never seen before. Yet if we're thinking something else, we're not going to see the really bizarre looking bug. So to not think anything and be empty allows for the whole screen to go from beauty to beauty to beauty to beauty to beauty, and something always different and rich. And the thing with saying perception picked out, or perception grasped, or perception something, it also shows that anyone could have seen that. I could be looking at it and say that. Somebody else could say that as well, because they can see it too. And in a way, that's about speaking as the moment, speaking as something in the moment, and not of like something that happened yesterday, which is, I experienced blah, blah, blah. There could be another sentence that says something about a different beautiful thing to somebody else, after being prompted by this beautiful insect to actually augment the beauty of the moment. Maybe we need to speak about nature more. And I have a passage that I want to read from Krishnamurti that talks about, if you have no relationship with a tree, not just as a name and a botanical chunk of knowledge, then you can't have a relationship with anything or sensitivity to anything. And I was thinking about how we have this small sliver of experience and consciousness called free will, that we call free will. And the rest of it is subconscious, or part of the intelligence of life, like the beating of our heart. We don't have to think beat, beat, beat for it to beat. But we have this very small little bit of supposed free will, and I think that's actually the slice of the virus. I think this free will is a virus, and it's like this very small viral chunk of reality that is just in structures of language that makes us think that we have free will. And maybe because we think we have free will. And maybe that phrase, I think therefore I am, is actually correct. The thinking creates the I, which is the separation. It's more like, I think therefore I have an ego. I think therefore my ego is. Or I think therefore the ego is. And it thinks it has free will by thinking. But I think this thinking is a virus. And it's this virus that keeps us disconnected with society and creates human beings to be like viruses on the planet, destroying everything. And I've come to this point a few times. It's like, will we choose, if there is any choice, will we choose to not choose? Will we see what we're doing? And we think it's free will, but it's not, because it contorts us and warps our nervous system and poisons us with cortisol. So every act of free will is actually contributing to our own destruction. Free will acting separately from others. It's like this small slice of reality. It's this little frequency. It's this frequency of language and sound and how we're using it to destroy ourselves and separate ourselves from that which we are not separate. And trying to break life down into all these individual little component parts, when the perception of the whole is what creates life. So you can't break it into bits and then think it means anything.